Hi, everybody. Catie Harris here, and we are talking about the BRCA gene, right? So most people have heard of BRCA gene because of breast cancer, and maybe you've even heard of people getting tested for BRCA mutations or undergoing surgery to lower their risk. But here's the surprising truth. BRCA is not a breast cancer gene. It has nothing to do with cancer. And in fact, it doesn't even have anything to do with women. So the BRCA gene is in men and women. And it plays a much bigger role in how your body repairs itself and how your metabolism works. Okay, so once you understand this, you'll see why the BRCA it's not just about genes, it's about the whole body and environment. And even if you're unlucky enough to have the BRCA gene mutation, there's a whole lot of other things that come into play. And even if you don't have the BRCA mutation, you can still develop these metabolic derangements, if you will, and they need to be addressed. So that's why metabolism becomes such a powerful and an important player in the cancer conversation that we haven't really had. All right, so let's start with the classic story. BRCA1, BRCA2, they're the genes, they make proteins, and their main job is to help repair broken DNA. Okay, especially something called a double-stranded DNA breaks. It's not that important that you know that, but imagine your DNA is like a long zipper. Okay, and sometimes both sides of the zipper snap at once. That's a double strand break. Normally, the BRCA proteins step in like an expert seamstress and stitch the zipper back together. That's when it's working perfectly, then that's great. But when the BRCA gene is mutated, there's a mutation, that repair system is broken. So the zipper gets patched up poorly, or you get a second-rate seamstress coming in, or somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, or who knows what gets done, right? But and maybe it's not all the time. Maybe it's just every once in a while you get a crappy seamstress or whatever. But over time, the cells accumulate mistakes, and it's that accumulation that becomes problematic. And that's why BRCA mutations increase cancer risk because the DNA becomes unstable. It's not fixed. So damaged cells go unchecked. But here's where most people stop. They think BRCA equals DNA repair only, but that's not the whole story, right? BRCA is connected to metabolism. There's a really, really, really important role that you need to understand, and specifically how your body handles fat. The BRCA breaks on an enzyme that's called acetyl-CoA carboxylase. So we're just going to say ACC for short. So the BRCA gene puts the brakes on ACC. Think of ACC as a faucet. When it's on, it pours out fat building signals, helping the cell make fatty acids. Normally, BRCA can tighten that faucet, making sure fat production is balanced. You don't want too much, you don't want too little. That's how the body works. But if the BRCA gene is mutated, the faucet runs free. And ACC just stays on and it's pumping it out, it's pumping it out, it's nonstop, and it's having a good old time. And there's nothing to say, hey, you need to stop. So that means cells put more fat, they build more fat, and then they stop burning fat altogether. So that's where you get some of this, you can get some metabolic disorders, and that's why obesity and metabolic disorders are associated highly with cancers because you need to be able to burn fat. You need to be able to burn it efficiently. And if ACC is just churning out fat and building, let's build, let's build, let's build, you're never going to get around to burning fat. And that becomes hugely problematic. Now, why should you care about that? Well, because cancer cells love fat, right? They need it to build new membranes and make signaling molecules and to grow quickly. So with BRCA mutations, you don't just get broken DNA repair, you also get a metabolism that feeds tumor growth. And it's not only about the cancer. Too much ACC activity leads to other issues like fatty liver disease, insulin resistance, chronic inflammation. These are things that we hear about time and time again. I just don't know that that connection between cancer and fatty disease has been really honed in. And it certainly hasn't been honed in. Like we spend so much time demonizing the BRCA gene, which is really important. You want the BRCA gene, you absolutely want it. But the having a mutation isn't the beginning and the end of everything. right? There's so many other factors that go into this, and there's a lot of resilience in the body that we need to build off of. So even in people without the BRCA mutation, you can end up with similar metabolic problems if your fat building faucet gets stuck. So here's the big picture. The BRCA gene is a gene that protects your DNA and balances your metabolism. A mutation doesn't just cause random cancer, okay? It sets up an environment where damaged cells are more likely to grow. And in our next video, we're going to take a closer look at ACC itself. So why it's such a powerful driver of disease and what happens when this fat-making faucet runs unchecked.